You won't believe what happened at this hotel. It starts with a denial, a simple refusal, but it spirals into a nightmare. Imagine this. You walk into a hotel after a long, exhausting trip, desperate for a place to rest. You've got your reservation in hand, your bags dragging behind you. You're just a tired traveler, or so you think. But then, the manager looks at you, and she says, "Sorry, we don't have a room for you." Sounds odd, right? But what happens next is mind-blowing. This manager has no idea who she's dealing with. It's not just the look in her eyes that makes this feel off. It's the reason she's denying the room. The woman in front of her is black. You see it. You feel it. This isn't just about a reservation mix-up. This is about racism. And it's about to get a whole lot worse. The woman tries to stay calm. She's been in situations like this before. But this is different. The hotel manager isn't having it. She insists there's no room, even though the lobby is half empty. She even goes so far as to suggest she might have to call security if the woman doesn't leave. Now the woman's getting uncomfortable, but she doesn't panic. No, she doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't demand anything. She just calmly asks for the manager's name. That's it. But something in the air changes. The manager hesitates. Then she says, "It's not personal, but I can't help you." What happens next shocks the whole room. The woman pulls out her phone and dials a number. The room goes quiet. She's not calling just anyone. She's calling someone high up, very high. A few moments pass. The manager doesn't know it, but she's about to find out just who she's dealing with. The woman says, "I'm the CEO of the company that owns this hotel, the parent company. I own this entire chain." The words hit like a punch to the stomach. The manager's face goes white. The room stills. There's no denying it now. The CEO, the woman standing in front of her, is the one who signs the checks. She owns this hotel. She owns a place that's been denying her a room. But the manager is still acting tough. She's still trying to save face. "This is a misunderstanding," she says. But the woman isn't done yet. "You refused me a room because of the color of my skin. You refused me when the reservation was paid for and confirmed." The manager stammers. She says something about policies, but it's clear she knows she's lost. The truth is, she's been caught. And it's not just about one room. It's about everything she's done to countless guests over and over again. The CEO's call doesn't end there. She doesn't let the manager off easy. She calls security. But it's not the security you expect. No, it's corporate security, and they're on their way. The tension in the lobby is unbearable. The manager is visibly sweating now. She can barely breathe. She's still trying to make excuses. But she knows it's over. The CEO gives her one last look. "I'll be staying here tonight, just like I planned. And I'll be doing more than just checking into my room." The manager stares back, but she can't say a word. It's done. The manager is fired on the spot. But the story doesn't end there. This incident sparks a chain reaction. The CEO doesn't just take revenge. She launches an investigation into the hotel. The manager's actions? They weren't isolated. She wasn't the only one at the hotel who treated people this way. Employees who had quietly discriminated against guests for years are suddenly under a microscope. The woman doesn't stop there. She files a lawsuit against the hotel chain. The case makes headlines. The media has a field day with it. The story spreads like wildfire. But then, a few days later, a strange twist. The woman begins receiving threatening messages. Anonymous text calls. Someone wants her to back off. But here's where it gets even weirder. The messages are signed with the name of someone familiar. Someone she never expected to be involved. Someone high up in the company. Someone who could bring everything crashing down. Who is it? How far does the corruption go? Was the hotel manager just the tip of the iceberg? The more she digs, the more she uncovers, and the deeper conspiracy becomes. What happens next could change everything. You won't believe the shocking truth. The messages kept coming, threatening, demanding. Anonymous texts and calls flooded the CEO's phone, each one signed with the name of someone she never thought she'd hear from again. It wasn't just a random person. It was someone high up in her own company. Someone with power. Someone who could destroy her career. The messages started out vague, cryptic. You don't want to go down this path. Stay out of it or you'll regret it. And then it got personal. You won't get away with this. Her hands shook as she stared at the screen. The name at the bottom of the last message? Richard Stanton. Her mentor. The man who'd groomed her for years. Who'd introduced her to the right people. Who'd given her the opportunity to run the company. He wasn't just a boss. He was family. And now, he was part of the problem. She couldn't breathe. The walls seemed to close in. Richard Stanton? The man who had always told her, if you're going to lead, you have to make tough choices, now had his name attached to something far darker. She had trusted him. She had believed in him. But was he behind this entire mess? Had he orchestrated the hotel manager's behavior? Or was there something even worse going on? She tried calling him, but his phone went straight to voicemail. The more she thought about it, the more it clicked. Richard had been too eager to push her into certain high-level decisions, to make her take charge. Had he been using her as a pawn? Was he the one pulling the strings from behind the scenes? As her mind raced, she didn't realize how deep the rabbit hole went until she spoke to one of her own employees, a low-level worker at the hotel chain, who came forward with a shocking confession. It's not just a manager, they said. It's the whole system. They've been doing this for years. Her heart skipped a beat. What did they mean by the whole system? The employee explained that the hotel chain had been systematically discriminating against black customers for years. The hotel manager wasn't an isolated case. She was part of a larger, deeply rooted issue. Managers across the country had been instructed to keep certain people out, specifically targeting black and minority guests. The woman felt her blood run cold. She had no more. But there was a problem. Her own company's systems were compromised. Richard Stanton. The more she dug, the more she uncovered his name tied to shady dealings, hotel policies, and even backroom discussions that went against the company's core values. Every time she turned over a rock, his name seemed to be hiding under it. But that wasn't the worst part. The deeper she went into the company's financial records, the more she discovered a network, one that stretched far beyond her hotel chain. There were shady accounts, large sums of money funneled into offshore banks, transactions linked to anonymous companies, all pointing to Richard. And then the real bombshell hit. She found a document, a deal, a bribery deal between Richard Stanton and a political figure, a well-known senator, no less. The agreement? To alter zoning laws for new hotels in exchange for something much worse, the systematic removal of black customers. Her jaw dropped as she read through it. This was bigger than just one hotel manager. This was corporate-level corruption, political manipulation, and racial discrimination wrapped in a deal that spanned across multiple industries. Her head spun. Richard was using her position as a CEO to disguise a much larger agenda, and it was all coming unraveled. But there was more. That same night, as she reviewed the evidence, her phone rang. It was Richard's voice on the other end. "I see you've been digging around," he said, his voice calm. Too calm. "You really want to know what's been going on, don't you?" She could barely breathe. "What the hell is this? What have you done?" "What I've done is give you the chance to see things from a bigger perspective," Richard said, his voice cold, distant. "You're in over your head, and you know it. You think this is about a few hotel managers and racial discrimination? It's much bigger than that." She was frozen. "What do you mean?" "There are people behind this. Real people. Powerful people who own entire industries. You've been a pawn in a game much larger than you ever realized," he said. "And now you're about to be exposed." The phone call ended abruptly. She sat there reeling. Exposed? What the hell did that mean? She was the one who was supposed to be exposing him. He couldn't turn this back on her. But that's when the unthinkable happened. Richard's name vanished from the system. The accounts he controlled, gone. The properties he was tied to, disappeared. Like he'd erased himself from existence. Was he even real? She felt the blood drain from her face. Had she been played the entire time? But there was one last twist. In the final second before everything disappeared, she received a single message. This one wasn't from Richard. This one was from someone else. Someone she hadn't expected. The message came through encrypted. If you want to survive, you'll need to get ahead of this. Richard is just a small piece of the puzzle. We've been watching you. The name attached to the message? A government official. Someone with ties to her own political past. Someone she thought she could trust. Everything was falling apart. She was about to lose everything. Her career, her reputation, her life. What the hell was going on? But the final words of the message froze her. You're in this deeper than you think. The only way out is to take them all down. And then nothing. Silence. She stared at her phone, unable to move. Who could she trust? Was Richard a pawn, or was he the mastermind? Who was this government official, and why were they involved? The conspiracy had just gotten a whole lot deeper, and she was caught right in the middle of it. Was she about to become the next target? Was the truth really what it seemed? Or had she walked straight into a trap that could destroy everything she'd worked for? Note, the truth is just beginning to unfold. Stay tuned for the next part.